to History Nuts. I'm Russ Carson Jr., the founder of Family Tree Nuts. At Family Tree Nuts, we build family trees for people, and we produce videos at historic locations and videos that help to honor your ancestors.
I'm Jameson Cable, founder of the Kentucky History Podcast, where we talk about anything Kentucky history, events, people. If it has to do with Kentucky, we're going to discuss it.
And we've teamed up together to bring you History Nuts.
History Nuts is a live show where we talk about, you guessed it, history.
Right. History seems to be less and less to people today, but we are trying to do everything we can to keep it alive.
Absolutely. History is a passion of ours for sure, but it connects to you. Russ, tell us about the best part of the show.
You can join in. You can comment and ask questions live.
We've got a great topic today, and we know you're going to enjoy this episode of
History Nuts.
What's up, everybody? Hey, this is Colonel Carson with my good friend
Jameson Cable, Kentucky History Podcast.
Absolutely.
How's it going?
It's going great, man. We've had one heck of a day.
It's been a wild day. You've been very busy, very busy.
Very
So what are you
busy.
into?
Yeah, so today, our show today is about Reverend Elijah Craig, the founder, the inventor of bourbon whiskey. But I just wanted to tell you a little quick about what we did today with Team Steady Ready there, and Jordan was there. We had a very, very large team there with Family Tree Nuts. There was a fella by the name of Stanley Owsley that died in Pearl Harbor. He was on the USS Oklahoma and died there. And make a very, very long story short, his remains were finally identified via DNA. And today he was, we had a ceremony of his interment there in Paris, Kentucky. So Family Tree Nuts was on site to capture that. The videos in the editing process, we'll be shooting that out soon. So that's a really cool thing that we did today.
And quick question now, was there two soldiers that were identified?
Yeah. There's another fellow by the name of Floyd Helton that was his ceremony was July 31st. So there was two Kentucky boys. That think about that. That's 80 years ago, Jameson.
Yeah, that is a long time. Well, the reason I bring the other one up is because I believe, was it Pulaski County he was taken to?
Absolutely.
And they actually, came through Rock Castle and, not through Lincoln, but close to Lincoln. But that was a big procession the whole way, as far from what I understand.
It sure was, man. It sure was. It's been a big deal. It's been a big deal. So we were lucky enough to be asked to capture that on video. So look for that on our YouTube channel. I'm hoping that's going to be out, sometime tomorrow, if not the next day. Make sure you look for that. But yeah, so let's get onto the subject of the day.
Elijah Craig.
Reverend Elijah Craig. My father is a pastor, and Reverend's important in front of his name, I think. So, but he's not your normal Reverend, though, is he? Not normal Reverend of today.
Well, he's got a little bit of a connection, a little bit of a baggage, if you want to call it that, tied to his name. What's he known for?
Man, we've said time and time again, you can't judge a man of the past by today's standards. But he was a Baptist preacher, and some people say he's the father of bourbon whiskey.
Bourbon. Kentucky bourbon, huh? That's what they say. Oh, looky there.
Look at that.
He's making an appearance.
Elijah Craig. Small batch, 1789. Notice it's unopened, folks. Still got the seal on there. We don't do that stuff here at the Carson household. We don't break into that. I bought it just for strictly a prop, kind of thing. It's not like the Jameson Cable household where they drink one of these every day, or
it's a bedtime snack.
Bedtime snack. I tell you what, when we talk about that. What was it, 100 quarts of whiskey a year that the average Kentuckian drank in the early 1800s or something like that? So
that's a lot.
Yeah, that'd be like drinking, one of these every couple of days kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but Elijah Craig, the father of bourbon. Now, I was talking with a fellow today, a man by the name of Blaine Price, who's from Bourbon County, Kentucky, and he said that you ain't going to tell that story about him being the father of bourbon, are you? Because Bourbon County's from bourbon whiskey's from Bourbon County, and I said, well, we're going to talk about that a little bit, so I'm going to bring that up. There's some controversy as to him being the father of bourbon, but yeah.
Well, start at the beginning. Where was old Craig from?
Well, before if we say that we need to bring up, hey, make sure you comment. We're monitoring the comments there. Let us know where you're watching from, and ask your questions, give your input, because I know everything about Elijah Craig, but Jameson doesn't. So we need to make sure that
novice.
Just kidding, man. But and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Both Family Tree Nuts and the Kentucky History Podcast, where we have tons of these videos coming out. So
and like it and share it on Facebook if you're watching from old Facebook.
Absolutely. So yeah, man. Elijah Craig, Reverend. Yeah, Elijah Craig. You asked me where he was born. He was born in 1738 in Orange County, Virginia. The fifth child of Polly Hawkins and what's his dad's name? I want to hear you say it, James.
Oh, yeah. Taliaferro?
Taliaferro, yeah, man.
Taliaferro.
That's actually when you do genealogy. If somebody has deep roots in Virginia, Taliaferro is kind of a popular name in old Virginia roots there. But he also went by Tolliver Craig, Sr.
That's a little easier to get out there, Tolliver.
Tolliver, yeah, man. So he started out as a young man. He was just a child when he became a minister, right?
Right out of the womb, man. He had a Bible with him. No, he's a little older than that. He was 28, I guess. 28 when he became a reverend, or converted to Baptist and began to hold meetings. In a tobacco barn.
Well, do you know? Yeah, there's a story there too. You Baptists, like I grew up. My dad's a Nazarene pastor, and if you partake in these certain things, you can't hold certain offices in church. You can't. You can't teach Sunday school. You can't be a leader in the church. But my wife grew up Baptist, and I remember going to the Baptist church, when I was a young Marine, we went up there, and there's fellas on the porch out there smoking cigarettes. I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? So you Baptists have a little bit of looser, strict things there. So are you Baptist?
No, I'm not. No.
Oh, okay. But so yeah, he's 28 years old. He gets converted to the newfangled Baptist denomination from the old Anglican Church, which is the Church of England.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you can get onto Baptist. It all gets quite complicated as you go on through history. If you get onto Civil War and you get Southern Baptist and on and on and on. But there's multiple. I guess would you call it multiple sects to the different denominations of Christianity?
I think I saw there was 40 some different types of Baptists.
Wow.
So, you're the folks with the snake handlers, right? That's the
Pentecostal, you mean?
Yeah, you guys are handling snakes at your service, isn't it? Those copperheads. I think I saw.
Yeah. I got a swollen finger or two from Sunday, sir.
Yeah, but you're still here. I mean, you trusted in the Lord. I'm not trying to make light of that. I'm not. I swear I'm not. But yeah, man. Let's look. We got some comments here. Chris says, "Hey, gents, let's see you, buddy." Gail says she is here, and let's see here. Susan's watching. Vicky says, "How you guys doing? Be safe during this COVID."
Greg says Jameson is Irish whiskey. That is correct.
We've talked about that a few times, haven't we?
Yeah.
Carol says she's watching from Goliad, Texas. Goliad, awesome, man. We were just at the Alamo there just a week ago, we were at the Alamo and talking about Goliad. We're going back down there in November, December. We're already locked that on. We're going to be shooting a lot of videos down there in Texas, including in Goliad. So, Joel says he's watching from Michigan, and Gail says she's watching from South Lebanon, Ohio, in Warren County. Warren County, I think wasn't that Ohio's Playland? I think, isn't it? Ohio's Playground. That's where Kings Island, different things are.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where you were going with that. I was really confused.
Susan says she's watching from Ohio, but know a little bit about that. Go Bucks. And Blaine says, good evening, gents. Blaine is the fellow that told me that, man, you ain't going to talk about Elijah Craig as being the father of Bourbon on it. Yeah, we are actually. So anyway, we better move forward. So he was converted and he starts preaching in a tobacco barn.
You got to go where you got to go. There's no, the church is the people, man, not the building. Preach wherever you want.
And he was all about it. They had service there every day almost.
Wow.
Every day. Being a preacher's kid, man, we went Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. We had youth rallies all the time. We had revivals. But they went to church every night.
Ooh, that's quite a bit. They were devoted. They're dedicated.
That's
they needed reminded not to sin every day. So
I reckon so. Yeah, no doubt. And his brothers, Louis and Joseph, were actually preachers as well, and maybe even bigger preachers than Elijah was as well. But and we're going to talk about them here shortly too.
Louis and others were jailed for about a month for preaching without a license from the
preaching without a license.
Yes.
What a crime, man!
What a crime, man! How did they? Jeez, I mean.
Well, the story is, they were preaching without a license from the Anglican Church. See?
Oh.
And this is a story here. That the Church of England.
Yeah.
Controlled everything. It was actually state funded. The governments paid into the tithes and funded the Anglican Church. They were the church, and we could go on a lot of tangents with that, but it's definitely a thing that just like the Protestant Reformation, people believed that the church was corrupt. The Anglican Church was corrupt. That's why the Presbyterians were formed. Well, before that, Henry VIII made the Anglican Church in the Church of England. So, but this is a big deal because this changes the opinions of America and the founding of America for the First Amendment, which includes freedom of religion.
Man.
So he's preaching without a license, preaching from a different denomination. So if I'm a Baptist and you're a Pentecostal and you're preaching, I'll have you arrested. This is the world we're talking about here. This is colonial Virginia.
Yeah. A prosecutor said, this is what the prosecutor said, they were incapable of meeting a man on the road without ramming a scripture down his throat.
Ramming a scripture down his throat.
Sounds like a good preacher.
It does. I've known a few of those. Yeah. I guess, which depends on it's funny that the prosecutor, that's what they used, kind of thing. So we often think about how loose we are becoming as our American culture is and things in the old-timey religion. Here he is, this guy's talking about ramming religion down somebody's throat in court, so I thought that was a pretty neat quote.
Yeah. I want to say, William Barry says, I want to say something, but I won't. All right. So
at least put it in the comments there, brother.
In 1771, he became ordained and the pastor of the Blue Run Church.
Yeah.
Again, jailed twice for preaching without a license.
That's right. Jailed himself, Elijah Craig. We forgot to mention that his brothers were put in jail for about a month or so, and they were preaching out into the street, and all the passerbys could see. They eventually got off on good behavior, but they they told them that they would let them go if they promised not to preach, and they wouldn't do it. So they locked them up and they preached from the jailhouse. And it really, anytime that you squelch what somebody's trying to do, it gives them a martyrdom. It gives them
more power.
Absolutely.
It reminds me, we've talked about him before, but John G. Fee, back whenever he was abolitionist, running around preaching, and like they would capture him, they would threaten him. They say, "Hey, we'll let you go. Don't come back here again." And he'd be like, "I follow no word, or I do not follow the word of man, only God. I will go where I'm called." And then
it just gives them more power, doesn't it? So let's see here. I lost a comment there.
William says he's a big Cummings fan.
Okay, and Amy says hello from southeastern Kentucky. I saw there was a comment there that said does Elijah Craig? Oh, here it is. Alex McNamee. Did Reverend Craig live in any Kentucky forts? Actually, he did. He really did, and we're going to talk about that here in just a few. But so these guys are radical dudes. You know what I mean? They're getting arrested for preaching without horrible crime.
Well, it's funny because you call them radical dudes when they're radical because they're just going around preaching the gospel. That's what's making them radical,
right?
And that just shows you the time.
And if you study the type of religion that they were preaching, they really preached they really preached a lot of guilt. These guys felt tremendously guilty and convicted of what they did on an everyday basis, that they were sinners and things like that. So that's what they were selling right there. But it was something that people bought into. And these radical people are, what's the biggest religion? You've heard the word Southern Baptist. There's a Southern Baptist church on every corner in Kentucky or in most anywhere in the South. These are the people that founded this movement that did that. So, yeah. So in 1774,
he was elected.
Yeah.
With John Waller as apostle to evangelize north of the James River.
Yeah. But basically, they were missionaries, or up in eastern Kentucky, they called apostles. I've heard it say. Yeah. You ever watch WLJC?
No.
WLJC, the religious channel here in Kentucky.
I probably have. I just didn't know what it was. Maybe.
Yeah, it may have a little older viewership, kind of thing. You got to be older than 25 to watch that, I guess. But no, the WLJC, you hear a lot of those people, the old timey mountain people, call them apostles. But apostles, well, basically they were missionaries to spread the gospel of the Baptist faith above the James River. Right then, if you look at a map,
I was going to say. So where's the James River? Give us that.
Well, runs right there, kind of thing, right there from Williamsburg. Stretches northwest.
Virginia.
Yeah, so they all the churches were there in Southern Virginia, North Carolina. They were sent to above Virginia to the mission field, to spread the word. So, very important person.
Vicky asked, it says you didn't know you had to have papers to preach. Well, and nowadays you don't. Back then, this is pre, right around American Revolution time. So this is a bit before then.
So you got to have your ordination. You got to have a license. A lot of times, people have to preach in certain denominations. You have to have some sort of a license in order to preach. That's how you were able to fill in for a pastor and such. So.
All right. So next, Baptists were often persecuted because they were often held mixed congregations. So it's a bit of no, right?
Men and women. Men and women. You said mixed congregations.
Yeah. Mixed.
Oh, mixed as in white and black.
Race, yes, mixed congregations, and that was a big no. At the time.
For the Anglicans, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and they encouraged their members to free their slaves, or at least treat them very well.
Wait a second. I thought these were the biggest sect in Baptists was the Southern Baptists, but they're talking about freeing their slaves. Wasn't just about everybody everywhere all over the South was Southern Baptists, right? Isn't that they're talking about freeing their slaves?
Well, this was in the 17 or 17. This is way before.
Yeah, and they said basically if you follow and you study the evolution of the Baptist faith, they they go hardcore, then they loosen up a little bit, and they said, hey, if you don't free them, at least treat them really well. Treat them like human beings. Treat them like your family, kind of thing. And man, we've talked about this touchy subject so many times on here, and we're definitely not advocates of slavery. It was definitely an evil and a wrong thing, but it wasn't always as bad as what we think about it today, kind of thing. So a lot of times, the people that were enslaved were loved by their owners, and vice versa, and they stuck by them. Once again, definitely not saying slavery was a good thing. I'm just saying that history is not always what we think it is until you really investigate.
So he worked as a liaison. Did I say that right? Liaison. Liaison. There you go. Liaison between the churches and the legislature to help protect religious freedoms in the new country.
Yeah.
What new country? What new country is he talking about?
The United States of America. This was a big deal. He worked with Patrick Henry, to say, hey, man, why are you giving money to the Anglican denomination? There's these other denominations that are out there. We came here for religious freedom, starting clear back in the early 1600s. So he worked to develop that First Amendment right of freedom of religion, which is a major big deal right here. So this guy's complicated, kind of thing. So you reading some?
Let's see.
We saw your Chrome Dome as you saw your Chrome Dome. So
sorry, man. Sorry. Trying to read the comments. They're very small on the phone.
I know. We're using a little bit different format tonight, aren't we?
Yeah. So once this was once this was established, though, the Baptist membership grew a lot. In 1781, Elijah's brother Lewis led a group of 600 people to Kentucky. And I don't know if people watching may know, but Lewis Craig, that was a pretty big deal. The whole traveling church, they went right.
Very big deal.
Very big deal. Went right through Rockcastle, Lincoln, into Garrett County, right where I'm at. So pretty big deal.
Yeah, a traveling congregation. It was the largest group of people that immigrated west through the Cumberland Gap into Kentucky. About 500-600 people it was.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot, especially for that time. I mean, most of the groups that came through were 10 to 50 people, but you can imagine that massive group of people to come through there. It's called the Traveling Church. Basically, hey guys, we're here in Virginia. We're getting a little bit persecuted here. Most people belong to the Anglican faith. Let's get out of here and head west, which was not a precedent that they set. It's kind of a thing that's happened for hundreds of years here in the New World.
Now, so you may probably don't know, but like Gilbert's Creek is kind of where they settled, and that's just south of Lancaster, Kentucky. And now on highway, or it's not a highway, but Road 39, Highway 39, I guess is what we call it. But it's not a big highway. This is a 2-lane windy road. Right
there between.
But right outside of Crab Orchard.
Yeah, who lives in Crab Orchard?
Oh, me.
This is right up the street from you where these guys settled, right?
Yeah, not far at all. So
what did they do when they got there? I guess they just.
Just hang out and on the farm in the field. No, they built a block house, the church, or where they would assemble, and it was established Craig Station. So
yeah, Craig Station. And, it's interesting, that this was still a time where they were tremendously worried about Native American attacks. So that's the first thing they built was that blockhouse for protection, but it also doubled as a church. So these movements of peoples and stuff like that is a really interesting concept. I mean, what would we call that today, Jameson, over there at your church? If everybody just packed up and went to Alaska, up in the wilderness,
They're migrating.
yeah, well, we might think there's some kind of cult or something like that, you know?
Well, yeah, that's true as well. It would be a bit, yeah. I mean, I could, yeah, it'd be unusual.
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it? Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
thing. You know, I drove through Waco there the other day, and we're like, I don't know if I want to go over there and check this place out or not. But
So, yeah. So, the congregation moved 2 years later to establish more churches, many still around today. Now, I'll say this too. A lot of times, so they went. I guess we could say they stopped at Gilbert's Creek or whatever, but they kept going, and some people on the way stopped, like got off the party. Like some of those people stopped in Rock Castle or in well, I would say Lincoln County, but they were just about in Lincoln County. But people stopped off as they were going and basically created their own settlements too.
yeah, it's really awesome. Now, if you do some research and look up the traveling church, and you can find out the surnames of the people that were involved. It's really odd. You're going to find that if you live in Kentucky, you're going to recognize many of those surnames that spread out all over Kentucky that have roots there. And yeah, they planted churches that are still there today. There's 4 or 5 churches, big successful churches that were part of this traveling church.
Yeah. So what did Elijah? We're not even talking about Elijah here.
Well, that was his brothers, with the traveling church. He's still back in Virginia working as a liaison for the government, basically to make sure that they can continue to do what they do. But
big but. Well, do we need to go and take a break here before we get into that?
No, we got a great spot for it.
Okay. Go ahead. Keep
We're
going.
almost there, though.
But all right, tell us the but.
Well, in 1782, he does lead his own congregation. We know in 1781 he was there visiting his brothers, checking everything out. But in 1782, he does take his own congregation, and they mount up and head to Kentucky. He gets 1,000 acres in an area that was considered Fayette County, became Woodford County, eventually becomes Scott County, and they found the town of
Lebanon. Yeah.
Isn't that in Marion County?
Well, yeah.
They first called it Lebanon. I think Lebanon is the town in the Bible full of milk and honey.
Yeah.
And that's where they got that name. But then a few years later, the name gets changed to a more popular fella.
Oh, George Washington.
George Washington. Guys, this is the founding of the town of Georgetown. Georgetown, Kentucky. There, which is in modern day Scott County, of course.
Yeah.
But if you know anything about Georgetown and Scott County, they win every state championship in Kentucky in basketball, football, baseball, whatever the heck, Georgetown, Scott County. But great, very powerful. It's where Toyota is, so they got a lot of money in that town. But Georgetown, Kentucky, basically is where they said they moved to in their traveling church. And Elijah becomes a poor man from that point, doesn't he?
I don't know. He kind of becomes a pretty big entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He gets his hand in a lot of pots.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to mention a few of those. But then, there in 1786, he became the pastor of Great Crossing Baptist Church. You ever been to Great Crossing?
I have not, no.
It's right there on the Elkhorn, and it's where the Buffalo Trace came through there, right before you get into Stamping Ground kind of thing. But Great Crossing Baptist Church he founds. Do you know who else was the pastor of Great Crossing Baptist Church at one time?
Not right off, no.
Interesting. The father of Frank and Jesse James.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was the pastor at Great Crossing Baptist Church, so that Elijah Craig was the one that founded. Pretty neat story.
Wow, that is pretty cool.
Yeah. We got some clips of Great Crossing, Jordan, don't we? Is Jordan there?
He's somewhere. Can they still hear us?
Yeah, you see that it founded in 1785.
Wow.
And it's erected there. But that's Great Crossing. As you can see, it's a pretty big church still there.
Is that the original building?
No,
that's gotta be a new one. That's gotta be a new one, right?
Yeah, didn't you read the first? It said it right there on the building, man. 1724, they built that building. But he stays and he's the pastor there forever, isn't he?
No, man, he's a moving man, ain't he?
Well, yeah, they kicked him out.
Oh, what'd they kick him out for?
Well, it's speculative of what they kicked him out for, but it's about this time that Reverend Elijah Craig becomes quite the businessman and quite the entrepreneur. So many think that it had something to do with that. But he became a very wealthy fella. But nobody knows for sure. But he was basically kicked out of the church, kicked out of the whole denomination of which he helped to found, which is pretty interesting.
That's pretty interesting. What was he getting? What was he dealing with? What was he starting to do, huh?
Well, we don't know. I mean, that's the thing about it is we don't know. That this part of this, we don't really know what ticked him off, but they kicked him out. And then later in 1795, Jordan, if you want to go ahead and show those clips there of
McConnell's Run.
Yeah, well, he founds, him and 35 other people start McConnell's Run Baptist Church.
There you go.
And which is now today Stamping Ground Baptist Church, which has now changed its name to Penn Memorial, but it's there in Stamping Ground. But that's the building there where Elijah Craig, he founded that church as well, him and 35 other people. So there's a plaque out front there in one of the clips there that shows with his name on there. But now's a good time. No, not that plaque. No, that's later on. We're almost to the bourbon, guys. We're almost there. See, it's still sealed up. But now's a good time to take a quick break because we've got a video. It's a real short video. It's about 2 minutes long about that church. So we'll see you guys on the other side.
A 235-year-old church with a ton of history. Hey everybody, this is Russ from Family Tree Nuts, and I'm in Stamping Ground, Kentucky. I'm in Scott County, about 8 miles or so outside of Georgetown, and I'm standing in front of Stamping Ground Baptist Church, which is now known as Penn Memorial Baptist Church. The church was originally founded in 1795, and was called McConnell's Run Church. The church was founded by the famous Elijah Craig and 35 other people. Elijah Craig was the famous minister and distiller that many people are familiar with, bourbon distiller. And the church first met in the home of John and Hannah Scott, which are now buried in the cemetery behind the church. One of the neat things about this church is right from the very beginning, it was integrated. In 1807, the church had about 305 members, and 75 of the members were black. The church even had black preachers that would preach from time to time on different occasions. In 1819, the church moved to its current location when it merged with Lecomp's Run Baptist Church and moved into town here. But the neat thing is the stone and the sign of the church is actually some of the stone from the original church out at McConnell's Run. By the mid-1800s, the church had over 500 members. And in 1855, they knew that it was time for a split. So the black folks of the church went and formed their own church and named that First Baptist Church. That church elected its own leadership and continued to function and prosper as a congregation. And it still exists today. In 1906, First Baptist burned and had to be rebuilt. By 1960, the church congregation here at this church was about 333 members, and First Baptist Church was 334 members. So the two churches' congregation was quite a big congregation. In April of 1974, there was a tornado here in Stamping Ground that pretty much wiped out the town. And this church, as well as several other buildings in the area, had to rebuild to the beautiful structure that you see behind us now. The church does have a very historic cemetery that's located behind there and has a Revolutionary War veteran as well as many of the first pioneers of the area here well over 200 years ago. So I wanted to take you to this neat little spot here, Stamping Ground Baptist Church, also known today as Penn Memorial Baptist Church, a 235-year-old congregation here in Stamping Ground, Kentucky. And remember, Family Tree Nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.
Yeah, man.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a little bit of an older video there, but that's when we did there at that same church that Reverend Elijah Craig helped to establish there. So we've got quite a bit of comments there. We need to do a little bit of catching up there, Jameson.
Yes. Where do you want to start?
There's a lot of them, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, we missed a whole bunch.
I want to say one there. Jane Talford said slaves were loved, really, with a question mark. I'm going to tell look, we are not advocates of slavery. We do not, at Family Tree Nuts, we absolutely believe slavery was a horrible thing, without a shadow of a doubt. But I'm going to tell you, through ancestral work, it isn't always as it was seen. It wasn't everybody's just getting whipped all the time. And this is not to show, but I just wanted to go on record and say that's not what we're saying at all here. But I can tell you many times I've found where these people became beloved family members as much as any other family member. So slavery is a horrible thing. But there were some people that were slaves that were loved by those that owned them, and vice versa. So let's move on from that. But
Carl has said a lot.
Yeah, I know. I'm having trouble following all Carl there. So.
But anyway, yeah, he said a lot. Vicky, did they make any moonshine back then? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when moonshine actually came about. I mean, I know it's
it's kind of the same thing that corn whiskey that has not been aged in charred barrels. So it's very similar thing there. So, and Nancy says Craig didn't create bourbon. His contribution to the burning interior of the barrel. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So, absolutely. Yeah, her research says that Jacob Spears. Yes, absolutely, Jacob Spears. I think. But Nancy also says that she believes that Lewis is buried in Georgetown under the parking lot of the church he established. Interesting.
That's pretty cool. Well, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Felix Gilbert, if you want, Carl, buddy, we got a lot of stuff there to talk about. We could, we need to have you on as a guest so we can talk about these things that we're doing there. So, Gail says she rode through Georgetown today. And
Don says that moonshine has always been around. So.
Yeah, you got it still going right now, don't you? So.
Yeah. Well, and like I heard, the whole. Well, we'll save the bourbon and stuff talk for a little bit, but
we're almost there.
Yeah. Well, let's get there here. In 1787, old Craig establishes the first classical school in Kentucky.
Yeah.
At the Royal Spring, Lebanon Town, Kentucky.
Right down there in Lebanon Town,
Lebanon Town.
Royal Spring is the creek that it's a spring, and it becomes a creek that runs right through there, just outside where the courthouse is. There, the oldest bridge in Kentucky is actually right there. Goes across that. I think we have a couple of clips of Royal Spring, that creek that we could show, but. Yeah, you see that's the oldest bridge there in Kentucky there, but Royal Spring, and that's where the first establishment of Georgetown was right there.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It's pretty cool that it's a stone bridge that's been there. I'm going to be wrong on the date, but somewhere it's in the 1700s. That bridge.
Yeah. Hundreds of years, for sure.
Right. That's right there by the Scott County Jail. We did a story. The Scott County Jails are on the other side of that bridge. You remember that's where
Caleb Powers.
Yeah, Caleb Powers was in the conspiracy of shooting the governor of William Goebel. See how these stories they just come all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, he donated the land that Rittenhouse Academy. It became Georgetown College, which is still there today.
Yep. The first Baptist college west of the Allegheny Mountains.
Yeah, absolutely there. And it's still there, home of the Tigers, Georgetown College. Heck of a football program.
Biggie says Kentucky is a pretty state. Yep, it's the best. But anyway.
We've been doing some traveling in the last week, and I'm thinking, yep, there's a lot more beauty here than other places. So he was also an entrepreneur, and he started lots of businesses right there in Georgetown. What are some of the businesses?
So he built the first fulling mill.
Yeah, do you know what that is?
No, what's a fulling mill?
They make clothes. They make clothing and things like that. So
cool. And then he also first paper mill, first rope walk, and first grist mill in Georgetown. So I mean,
rope walk.
Rope walk.
Yeah,
making rope.
Yeah, they make rope out of hemp. Kind of thing, which is a huge product in early Kentucky. Kind of went away because people tend to abuse that there for a little while. It's making a comeback though, isn't it? Hemp is, and
it is. Yeah. Carl says he's been to every state except Alaska, so that is quite the
I think
accomplishment.
Carl, you need to go there on January the 25th. That's what you should do right there. Make it a point. Go to Alaska. No.
He also owned a ferry over the Kentucky River.
Yeah.
He had over 4,000 acres, owned a retail store in Frankfurt.
Yeah. And this is all my personal opinion, but I think that's the reason why he started to have some issues, kind of thing. So when you're the pastor of a church, you're subject to a lot of people's opinions about what you should and shouldn't do. Mm-hmm. And maybe people were saying, "Hey, brother, you got to give all your profits to the church." Or I mean, I'm very much speculating, but that probably money is the root of problems, isn't it? So.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, that's probably a good assumption. That was probably one of the things that kind of got him in trouble. But he also helped found the fire department and was the first fire chief. So
yeah, he's the first fire chief of Georgetown. What a cool thing that is, right? I wonder how many firemen there in Georgetown know that Elijah Craig was the first fire chief right there, in Georgetown.
Yeah. In 1789, he was most famous for he founded a distillery.
A distillery. Mm-hmm. And this is where he gets his the legend says that he's the first guy to make bourbon whiskey, that he charged some barrels on accident and he was too cheap to throw them away and went ahead and put his corn liquor in there anyway. And it aged and gave bourbon that dark
color,
amber color, and shipped it down river kind of thing. So there's speculation as to was he the first, and the folks in Bourbon County say that he was not the first. There was a fellow, Jacob Spears, that did that, and there's just some really loose, what do you call it? Loose
ties.
Yeah, well,
loose ends.
We're loose proof of who's the first kind of thing. When in reality, during that time, 1789, 1790, there was a boatload. Most people that had a farm had a distillery. It's just the way that they made it around there. So, you know where bourbon got its name? What is bourbon?
You mean Bourbon County or the drink bourbon?
Well, let's do both. Bourbon County, because that's first.
Yeah, Bourbon County is named after the House of Bourbon, which is French, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yeah. Marquis de Lafayette.
Yeah.
About 17 names there, but
yeah. So that's where Bourbon County gets its name from.
So then bourbon whiskey gets its name from.
Well, from what I understand, they shipped it up on the Kentucky River down to the Ohio, and then on to the Mississippi, and went all the way down to New Orleans when they would say Bourbon or Bourbon. And
I heard they stamped the barrels, with bourbon. It's in Bourbon County. Bourbon County. What is this? This is new stuff. It's dark. It's not clear. What is this stuff that we're drinking here? I don't know. It's in a barrel. It says bourbon. kind of thing. So
Oh,
if you've been in New Orleans,
bourbon.
they kind of have the rights to coin the phrases of alcohol down there. So
They do a lot of drinking of the alcohol, I believe, down there too.
yeah, not me when I've been there, but absolutely not. But yeah, so that's
I'm not. Oh, go ahead.
So well, so the legend is there's some writings of 1876, I think, where they talked about how they right there along Royal Springs is where they first charred the barrels. It's loosely interpreted that, or it says right above that how Elijah Craig owned a distillery right there. So that's where some people took it and ran with it. And the Heaven Hill Distillery ran with it too, and making him the father of bourbon to create a good brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's probably some of it is branding as well. But the big question, like, and I don't know, I'm not a distiller. I don't know all the correct terms probably for like how whiskey or whatever is made, but like bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon, correct?
Well, yeah, like basically that separated itself from corn,
Mm-hmm.
to be different than rye. Whiskey was made from rye traditionally before that, but corn was quite available. Kentucky was great for growing corn for the first pioneers, and it's a lot easier to sell your corn in jars, or barrels than it was in bushels.
Yeah,
kind of thing. And some of your people still do that, I think. So.
nah. Well, never mind.
Yeah. And if just call Jameson offline and he can connect you with some of that Kentucky whiskey. It's not bourbon either. So.
So I mean, I guess it's kind of there's the two stories. Because what was the other guy's name?
Jacob Spears. Jacob Spears there in
Jacob Spears, yeah. So was it his oh no, you said Elijah, right? The Craig guy. He was the one with the barn that burned, right?
Well, his barrels.
Barrels.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery, and it's one of those legends that will likely never be solved. And depending on which side of Scott and Bourbon County, that's who it is. And it gets kind of heated. I mean, like I said, Blaine Price he's from Bourbon County, and he was kind of serious when we talk about the father of bourbon.
Man. Well, I mean, Bourbon County. I mean, I don't know. I'm not here to make the final judgment. So.
Yeah, man. So it's not known, but he owns all these things. He has all these businesses, but he loses the majority of his wealth.
Yeah. I mean, is it known why really, or just went down the?
We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
And this is, it's crazy. He died in 1808. And do you know where he's buried?
I don't. Do you?
No, nobody does. And,
wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
We do genealogy work and find all these graves, but the man is buried in 1808. It's remember we just did a story about Jack Jewett, another person that we're talking about a couple of hundred years later that was a founding father and did all these great things, and we don't know where he's buried either. We don't know where Elijah Craig is buried. Mm-hmm. People think he's probably buried right there in Georgetown somewhere, but we don't know.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some descendants. I'm sure he has descendants that, I mean, like just about everybody does. But I wonder, if they were able to, like, talking about the World War II Pearl Harbor veterans there, if they were able to find like remains and connect that DNA, that'd be a pretty wild discovery. But anyway, that's all.
Maybe so. A lot of these guys didn't have headstones back then, so. And his legacy, we've kind of already hit on that. Heaven Hill has created Elijah Craig. Notice it's still sealed up. We've been going to shoot a video of Elijah Craig, and I was going to use this as a prop. It's not open, the only reason that I felt embarrassed going in that liquor store, right? But the 12-year small batch is the most common, but the 18-year single barrel is known to be the oldest in the entire world too. And do you know who picks the barrels for Elijah Craig?
No, who?
Parker and Craig Beam. You ever hear the word Beam? Beam?
It's another whiskey, ain't it? Jim?
Yeah. So that's another name, that family name. These are real people that are alive today. Pick the barrels for it. And when they make that 18 barrel, 2/3 of the whiskey is lost to the angel's cut. Or the angel's share, I guess I should say. You know what an angel's share is?
No, I don't.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Angel's share is what's evaporated. So 2/3 of the barrels evaporated over that 18 years. That's the angel's share. You've seen the devil's cut is what goes inside.
Oh, okay.
Kind of thing. The angel's share is what's evaporated. The angel's good. So I didn't know.
I get it.
I didn't know.
I get it. Yeah. Nancy says that she was incorrect. It was their father who was buried under Great Crossings parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible. The church paid over the cemetery. That is terrible. Oh gosh, you wouldn't think the church would do that, but especially the importance of the founder and stuff. That's rough.
Lisa says they're washing. Carl says they paid taxes on it. Yeah, there is records. There is records that Elijah Craig paid taxes. I think he paid $189 in taxes. I think $187 in 1789 or 1790. When he died. We're trying to catch up with these comments there. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say about Elijah Craig?
Well, I know a little bit about him, but I do not know much about the drink. I'll tell you that.
That was something that was branded there, by the distiller there too, because many people had said that he was the
connect him to. Yeah. I mean, it's a great branding business idea for sure. But yeah, interesting fellow. I mean, to think that he came from Virginia, he was very much persecuted along the way for his religion, and then got over here and got rich, lost it all. He's a pretty interesting dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg says, for a Marine that doesn't drink, you sure know about whiskey. I'm a Kentuckian, man, kind of thing. So we're supposed to know about bourbon whiskey, right? So
the thing is, so you got whiskey, you got scotch, you got bourbon, but like, is it all whiskey or is it not? I'm all confused. I don't know the difference.
There's difference. That's a whole nother show.
Okay.
A whole nother show. Yeah, man. So great. Just an interesting Kentuckian that, that it's important to our Kentucky heritage and history kind of thing. So really interesting fellow, a reverend that invented bourbon. So as they say. So what do you guys got going on over there at Kentucky History Podcast?
Oh, a lot. So, it's been summer. Summer's coming to an end as far as the actual summer vacation. School's starting back soon. But we got enough stuff recorded. We're going to have episodes out each week till December. And then we got a video coming out tomorrow about the River Raisin, the Battle of River Raisin, all that stuff. A lot of Kentuckians died on that battle, or during that battle, and after.
9 counties.
So, yep, 9 counties been named after it. A lot of stuff, man. Just a lot of stuff going on. So more Kentucky history coming your way.
Yeah, we just took a road trip, where we sat there and we listened to Jameson talk.
You made it?
Hours and hours and hours, kind of thing. So my wife and son were quite educated on some Kentucky history due to the Kentucky History Podcast. Right. Great listening. I mean, it really is great listening, especially when you're driving. Can't really watch the videos while you're driving. But
yeah, don't watch the videos.
You can just listen, turn it on, kind of thing. So. But so we're getting ready to sign off now, but we've done a couple of big projects lately, and we're getting ready to kick off a couple of pretty big videos, especially the one that we did today. Like I said, that was a fellow that died on the USS Oklahoma and Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. His remains were identified last year and were brought back to Paris, Kentucky, where he was interred. And we were able to, we had a 5-man team there today to capture all kinds of video and pictures. We're going to be putting that video out here real shortly. So real powerful thing about DNA. I mean, these people, all the people that know him knew him are passed on now, you know, but how powerful is it to attend a funeral of a fellow that died at Pearl Harbor? And it was an admiral there. An admiral was the one that presented the flag to the family. So really, really awesome stuff. So
yeah, well, yeah, I definitely want to say, I mean, a very honorable thing to be a part of and to document as well. I mean, it's really interesting, really fascinating, the science, man, technology that we got now that we can do those things.
Absolutely. So. It was very moving, very, very, very moving. Something that I'm glad we got to experience for sure. And appreciate Blaine for hooking us up with that. And Gary Galbraith there, who lives in Delaware, that asked us to film that for him. He's one of the great nephews and wasn't able to attend. Great. And let's see, Don says he's ready for a road trip to southeastern Kentucky. So sounds like we'll shoot some videos, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff out there. Yeah. So thanks again. Hey, thanks for all the comments today. I know we were kind of a bit wild with them, but they were coming in quick.
Yeah, they're coming in so quick. We're having a hard time monitoring with it and talking about the show. It's great stuff, you know. Really love it for sure. Appreciate all the support.
Yep.
Who's next week?
Oh, Transylvania.
Transylvania.
Yeah. Training.
No, not training.
Transit.
Transylvania University, I think it was. They're in Lexington, the oldest college, west of the Alleghenies, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool. It's got some amazing alumni that went there, kind of thing. So really interesting story. We're not talking about Dracula,
but you can bring your fangs if you want.
yeah. You know, they're mascots, the Pioneers, but if you look at everything now, they have like a bat. You know,
Why didn't they call themselves the Bats?
because of Dracula, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. Pioneers. It was one of the first. So.
Absolutely, really cool story. It's really, really awesome place. That's the Harvard of the West. I've heard it called many a time.
Yep.
But I'll spoil it a little bit. I think Jefferson Davis attended there, the president of the Confederate States of America, and tons of other people too. So, but
yeah. So subscribe to the channels, like the Facebook page, and sounds good.
Sounds great. We'll get out of here for now. And hey, guys, remember, Family Tree Nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.